Um, please take the dog because he's making noise and I don't know. Take him.
What did she say?
Hmm.
Mr.
Uh, okay. Thank you, Sean. All right, so hold on a second. Okay. So, hey everyone.
Hello.
How are you today? Alicia is not joining us today, I believe. She's gonna take the evening off. So I'm gonna jump into the contracts, but I'll just give a little time, a couple of minutes for people to jump on. How was your day today? You go by Shine?
No, it's Shamika. I guess it takes it from my like Facebook, which is Sean.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My last name is Hines, so that's just like my first name, middle, first initial, last name. So
Got it.
yeah.
Okay. All right, let me just let everybody know. Now, hi, Eleni. I haven't seen you in a little. Oh, she can't hear me. Hey, Eleni. Oh, still can't hear me.
I love you guys. Be quiet, okay? Thank you.
I was going through the same thing, Eleni, like trying to get the dog to leave and my son. How are you today?
I'm good, thank God.
All right. And then I see Gordon, Shy.
Hey.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hi, Gordon. And I see Jada, Linda. Hey, Linda.
Hello.
Hi, Jada. All right, Amanda. So anyone got some wins today or some lead generation that went well? So I can't say I had any wins today. I will say that I was trying to edit and that's taken a lot longer than I expected. But all right. So I'll give one more minute and then we'll jump on. And last week we were talking about the offer to purchase. That's a document that I really, really wanted to touch on. And Alicia, when she was here last week, she wanted to go through the order, right, which was buyer agency, WWREA. And then we jumped into offer to purchase a little bit because the offer to purchase, you need a lot of other documents to write that contract. And so, but I thought it was really important because that is the first, as a buyer's agent, that will be the first document that goes to someone outside of the organization. So when it's just you and your client interfacing, as long as you have a good rapport with your client, 9 times out of 10, they're going to fix errors and things like that. They'll like initial on things, but it's dealing with the other side. You really don't want them to know you're a new agent or initially, or that you're kind of new at writing offers. And I think a lot of us that came in during that COVID period had to get good at writing offers because we had to write a lot of them because we kept losing. So I have written lots and lots and lots of OTPs because we lost lots and lots of offers because, you had to have a lot of disposable income to win at that point. So that's how I got good at it, like just writing them over and over and over and over and over again. So, you start to like catch the mistakes that you made, and I've made a ton of them. I used to never send the property disclosure and the MOG because I didn't know I had to send it. And then the agent would always be like, hey, where's the property disclosure? And I'm like, yeah, I'll send it. And I didn't realize that that is all a part of the contract. All of that has to go over. And if a property is older than, does anybody know how old it has to be for you to have another document you have to send? You may not know what I'm, huh?
The lead one,
Yes.
1978, I think.
Right. So if it's older than 1978, then you have to send the additional document, the LBP, which is the lead-based paint addendum. And then there is one more document that sometimes comes into play, or unless you're writing an addendum for some other reason. Some people write an addendum holding them to the fire because they want them to select the contract fast. That's a different type of thing that we can talk at a later time. But then sometimes you have a loan type that forces an addendum, and that is super important. If you don't send that addendum, it does not protect your client. So I actually had to use that. I had to enforce that addendum once. I'll quickly tell that story because I think in stories, that's how I learn. I don't do it. If I see somebody else made a mistake, I'm not going to make it because I don't want to pay the piper. So if I can learn from somebody else's mistake, I will. So I basically had a situation, the property did not appraise and the appraisal gap was huge. I tried to negotiate it down. They wanted to meet us halfway. I was like, my client's a first-time home buyer. She's like a kid, she was like in her 20s. I was like, there's no way she's coming up with whatever it was, 17 grand or something. So they kept playing hardball. No, 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 no. What I did know was that the property that they were buying was contingent on this one selling. So I knew I had that in my back pocket. So I was like, hey, we're not going to pay that price. So that's that. So we kind of stood at a standstill. I was trying to figure out what to do. I was a newer agent. I'm still pretty new, but I was even newer. So I was really nervous, and I called one of my mentors and he gave me some advice, which I did take, and it actually worked. Moving forward, she was so annoyed. They finally brought the price down to very, very close to appraisal, which at that time was amazing because people were paying way over what properties were worth. And so, or at least what they were listed for, let's put it that way. And basically I said, okay, you have the option of, looking at something else, or we can just go ahead and go, with the price they're giving us. So they were about $2,000 away from appraisal price. And so she looked at a property, brand new construction, came back on the market. She was like, I don't want to move forward with the old property. And the only document that protected us was that FHA, because we were past the due diligence period. So the FHA addendum allowed us to go back to the seller and say, we don't want this property. We'll take our earnest money, keep it moving. Yes, she did lose the due diligence, but she was willing to do that because she wanted the new construction property that had come back on the market. So that was the document that I used to enforce that. It was 268 or something, and they wanted 270, and I was like, nope, because our thing says, whatever it said, it didn't appraise for whatever the amount was. So we were able to use that document to get out of it. She bought her new house. Of course, then we were like good to go. She, even though it was tumultuous at first, we were able to get past that. So, but the FHA addendum is really, really important if your client is FHA or VA. And the FHA has to be filled out with a dollar amount, and the VA is just an addendum to protect veteran, veteran people that are using that loan. So those are the documents that have to go. But I'm going to run a little bit through the OTP. I don't know if we get through the whole thing because it's a very long document, but not as long as new construction, because new construction can be over 100 pages when you sign one of those documents. And Sean can attest to that because he does a ton of new construction. That document is so long. All right. Anybody have any questions or like want to know something before we even go into OTP? Because none of this is sexy. It's just necessary. No questions? So WWREA, just so you guys know, that document really, like a lot of times we send it in conjunction with the buyer agency agreement, but that's technically not the way you're supposed to do it. If a person is sharing very personal, private information with you, such as motivation, how much they make, their credit score, things that you wouldn't tell a normal person, right? We don't go around saying like my credit score is 670. Nobody does that. So once people start sharing that type of intimate information, financial information, you are supposed to present them with the working with real estate agents disclosure. I always struggle to explain that document. It's very like the 3 ways to work with it's hard to me, it's hard to explain it in a way that makes sense to clients, but I think I've gotten better over time. We all know how to explain exclusive. That one's super easy. We all know how to explain designated. It's that dual one. That's like, how do you explain that dual one? So, is there anybody on here that's worked with that document, had to explain it, and wants to take a stab at dual agency? Because I definitely don't want to be the one talking the whole time.
I don't want you to feel like you're talking to yourself. So
Okay.
my little 2 cents is I've worked with the document, but I do not know. I cannot sit here and explain it. You would be better off explaining it than me. I just jumped in so I feel like you were talking to the screen.
Thank you, Amanda. So dual agency, most people, I always tell clients, most people interpret dual agency as I have a property that I listed, I'm selling it, and then you are my buyer and you've decided I love the property you have listed. And I always struggle with that too, because I'm like, listed, that's a word to us. Listed to clients doesn't mean anything, So I am helping a seller sell their property, and then you are my buyer and you're interested in the property I'm selling. That's the easiest way for them to understand it. But that's really not even the most important part of dual agency. Like that's the least thing that will happen. 9 times out of 10, you won't have a house listed that they'll like. The real reason dual agency is important is because your buyer agency agreement and your listing agency agreements are with Lifestyle, right? So Lifestyle is our umbrella. And so so the buyer agency is with Lifestyle, not with us. Because if I walk outside and get hit by a bus, that client is still Lifestyle's client. That client will still be serviced by Lifestyle. If I decide to walk away and go to a different firm, that client technically belongs to Lifestyle. So I tell them, I like for you to sign dual agency because it gives you the broadest broadest base of homes to look at. Because if one of my colleagues, and then I like to say sir, because they all know sir. So you like, if sir has a property, right, that he's selling, and I know everybody knows Sean too, but sir is easier because everybody knows him on YouTube. So it's like, sir has a property, and I want to help you buy sir's property, but sir and I are at the same firm. I cannot go show you sir's property. I can't put an offer on sir's property. I can't do anything on sir's property because that sir is under Lifestyle. So that's really like how I try to explain it so that they can give me the dual agency, because a lot of times they think, hey, there's going to be a conflict of interest. I really don't want you working both sides. But I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it is more important to me to give you like every property that's in the multiple listing service. And you will not get that if you don't give me dual agency. And then as I learned, the problem with it on the other side is that no one else can do your open house because you guys would not benefit from doing an open house for someone that doesn't have dual agency because you can't represent the buyer. So it's a super important thing for you to learn how to explain it and role play. I know Annalie and I were talking about this. Role play is one of the easiest ways to learn how to explain it because it's a weird concept to explain. So, and I struggled, and I mean like to me, it's like, Sean, I had a situation where one of my clients would not give me dual agency, and it didn't matter how I explained it, she could not understand it. So I know that I still struggle to explain it. So, but do the best you can, and you can send them pamphlets or whatever explaining it, because there is pamphlets on it. So pamphlet should do a better job than what we do, or at least what I do. So I'm gonna share my screen unless somebody wants to share something, because I really do want to hear how things are going with y'all.
Wait, can you just, sorry, Ari, can you please explain again the open house part? So if you have no one else can do your open house, is that what you were saying?
Mm-hmm. So if I have a listing and I only have exclusive on it, that means that if you came to do my open house as a buyer's agent, you cannot purchase that home. You cannot help your client purchase that home. So it doesn't make sense for you to do the open house because you would have no way to get paid on it.
Okay.
Because at an open house, you're trying to attract the buyer for me, right? So if the buyer comes and they're unrepresented and you say, hey, I can represent you, but I don't have dual agency.
Oh, I see what you mean now. Okay.
You're not going to be able to do anything. So it's just kind of like, and we tried everything to explain. Well, I tried. She liked Sean. So she would, because she thought Sean was adorable and she just liked Sean, but she would not listen to me. But it's okay. We worked it out. We sold it full price, and she's good and happy, and she likes me every time I call now. So we're good to go. And it's very normal to have problems with clients throughout a transaction. It happens because they're emotional and we're not, because we're not connected to it. So they get upset about, appraisal. They get upset about repairs. So you have to control the temperature. Like, your job is to bring it down and calm them down and explain, like, where are we trying to get to? Like, we're trying to get to the finish line. And so this is the hard part of being an agent, not the contract. The hard part is controlling people's emotions, which is why some people jump to commercial, because you don't have as many emotions involved in commercial. You have a lot of money on the line, so people get mad, of course, but the emotional, personal, this is my house. How could they offer me, $25,000 less? And I always tell clients, That's their job. If a buyer's agent doesn't negotiate, they're not a good buyer's agent. Because when I'm a buyer's agent, I negotiate. Like I'm I'm cutting you at the knees. Like I'm going for whatever I need to go for. And so maybe like trying to make them laugh and making it like, yeah, when I'm on the other, if you are on the other side, I would do the same thing for you. Helps them. I'm not saying that always works, but you use whatever strategy you can. Oh wait, somebody's coming in. Hi, Shelly. All right, Gordon, were you going to say something? I thought you put your camera on.
No, I was just saying hello.
Oh, okay. Hey. So, hey, Vicky. All right, so I'm going to share the screen and let me see if I don't even know if I have the right screen. I feel like every time I share my screen, it's always the wrong screen. Okay, here we go. All right, so I am in dot loop, but I don't see, I'm just going to jump in here. And like, I know that the loops are off, and that's because I don't know how to manipulate dot loop. I know how to create documents in dot loop, but to template the whole thing for everyone, I work with Ange to do it, and sometimes Ange doesn't understand what I'm saying. So I have to work with Alicia. So it's like the three of us kind of have to work together to try to get these loops right. So I know some of the loops aren't right. I'm aware. So just, if you could be patient with us. Like I said, I'm a DocuSign person. I come from the DocuSign world, so I don't understand dot loop as much. Can everybody see my screen, by the way?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
All right, so right here, if you go in here, NCR interactive documents, that gives you the whole plethora of documents that we have access to. Here's South Carolina for those of you that practice in both states. One tidbit about South Carolina, make sure you tell your clients that if they buy in South Carolina and it's their primary residence, to go have the 6% property tax changed to the primary residence property tax, which is 4%. That has happened to me, so please let them know that if you are practicing in South Carolina. All right, so we're going to interact the documents, and I want the OTP. Where's the OTP at? Oh, there it is. Okay. So the 2T offer to purchase. And if you hear me say stuff and you're like, why is she calling it that? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. Okay. So I don't call documents, like I don't say the 2T offer to purchase. I'm just going to say OTP, LBP, RPOs, like we learned in school. I think everybody knows RPOs from pre-licensing, MOG from pre-licensing. So if at any point you don't know what document I'm talking about, please feel free to ask the question, because I don't want to assume that you know when I'm just calling it OTP and you're like, why does she keep saying that? So the documents change a lot. So last year we got a update. So July 2023. So make sure you're using the right one. I think they're in there already, like you saw me pull it. But if you ever have one that's older until there's another revision, please make sure that you are checking this. It has 17 pages. It used to have 16. I think I have 15. It used to be a one-sheeter when it first started, and it's like grown to 17 pages. So it evolves when there are issues, and the NC Realtor board decides that they have to do something to make sure that everybody's clear and on the same page. So wires have changed things. Social media and the way that we are taking photography and videography of people's places has changed parts of the document. So also having things attached to your, like on your phone, you might have your alarm system. So detaching all of that before closing, that's another thing that showed up in the offer to purchase. So, all right. I think that one showed up in the listing agreement, but you get what I'm saying. Things show up all the time in the offer to purchase. All right, so you're gonna put the seller, I think, what's going on here? Because this thing is not fillable. Hold on a second, because I'm going to have to get out of this to see if I could go into a fillable one. And I don't know why that document's not coming out as fillable. See, this is why I like Alicia here, because Alicia, she's like, computers are her thing. And I'm like, I use computers because I need to, not because I want to. I don't know why this thing isn't working. I might have to go into all right, and this is my thing. So let me go into a loop. All right, so we're gonna do NC OTP. And in South Carolina, the OTP is something else. It has a different name. So I'm gonna do it this way. Hopefully it's fillable. If not, you gotta forgive me because if Alicia is not around, it's kind of like, all right. So this loop has the WWREA and the exclusive buyer agency, and then here's the OTP. Hopefully this one is fillable. Okay, yeah. So the seller is going to be whoever the seller is. So Mary Smith. Is it, oh, and how do you find the seller? This is like really important. So if you go in Canopy, and I'm sure there are a bunch of ways to search a like an address. But I would search, and let me see if I could find one that I've done. I can never remember any of my addresses. Let me see if we have one in the, all right, so this is one from the office. So I'm gonna borrow, let me see if I can borrow one of Sean's. No, I don't, and I think this is Sean, but that's not, that's land. This is Sir. Although I don't think Sir would mind if I borrow one. I'm just gonna take Sir's. All right. So this is Sir's listing. So, all right, so we have an address here. If you need information like parcel numbers and things like that, you're gonna go into the tax tab, and you'll see that the parcel ID is here. So, because the OTP is gonna start asking you for certain things. So, and then you wanna know who sorry, let's put Mary Smith as the buyer so I can show you how to find the seller. All right, so here's the seller, Stephen Woodham, and then Cheryl Woodham. And it took me a while to realize that these names were like last names and then first name. As a new agent, I did not know that. So, so in the OTP, and I personally like to put the names separate because, you know, some people are married, but they don't share the same last name. So I like to just individualize them so there's no questions, because someone like me, like I question a lot of things. I would question it. I'd be like, oh, is that person's last name too? So although, you know, most people, like I know I carry my husband's last name. So, But all right, so here you have Stephen Woodham and Cheryl Woodham. So those are the sellers. That's how I found it. Does anybody have a question about how I found this? I got the name.
No, I followed you.
Okay. All right. So the other thing is that you got to do a lot of checkpoints. When you're filling out a form, you wouldn't believe how many times you go into a form and the names don't match. And that's because maybe this property went through probate or something, and like the person that I don't see his documents here. I should have checked his attachments. But I don't see Sir's, I'm gonna tell him that. I don't see Sir's his MOG and his R codes. This is not gonna, y'all not gonna understand it if I do that. Okay. Sorry. Do you understand why I came out of that?
No,
Yes, you're looking for attachments. You didn't have an
I'm
attachment.
looking for the attachments, right? And he doesn't have them. So this right here is Sean. So here are the attachments. This little group of papers right here. It's also down here where you see manage attachments. Can you see that?
yes.
Down, okay. So up here, see how Sean has attached his mineral oil and gas rights and also the residential property and owners association disclosure. So that's what I'm looking for. So if I went in here and I look for his people, so now I would write Lewis Lowery. So let me change that. No. So a lot of times, like people want to rush through these, but it really is, it's a legal document. So take your time. I mean, we're not back in like COVID where we had to write these things and like we had to rush through them. We have a little bit of time now. Now, if you're in a bidding war, you got to do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, we have time to get the document right. So try to send it right the first time. So I'm just like cutting and pasting because I don't want to like type it out. All right, so here we go. All right, and if you've dealt with me approving your documents, you know, like I'm a stickler, so I like look at everything. Like I kick back, I look at everything. So so that's why I'm going through it, because I specifically look for certain things that maybe, you know, you haven't been putting in. So the property will or will not include a manufacturer mobile home. That home clearly is not a mobile home. So yeah, so this is a is by DR Horton. So it is not a mobile home. I'm gonna start pulling the address. And I always try to paste because you don't want to put in like transpose the number. Like I know I struggle with, I don't think I'm dyslexic, but I know that sometimes I have some dyslexic tendencies. So I try to just cut and paste instead of type it. Plus it saves time. All right, so this is the zip code, and then this is Gaston County. So, all right. Now, this right here says the property will or will not include an offsite and separate septic lot. So this is not, but if it did, then you would just put will. So boat slips, so that's like if you're buying a property like maybe in like the Lake Norman area, like Cornelius or something like that, where it's gonna get a boat slip in addition to it, or it has some kind of other attachments to it that are not on the premises. So this garage, as you can see, is attached, but if it was like a garage somewhere else, but it pertained to this house, then you would have to click that box. I have like way too many files open. All right, so here I like to put something. So some people put nothing, But at the end of the day, there have been properties that have the same address. And this might be something that's old, and never got partitioned, because now when you are creating, like, let's say you buy a piece of land and it's like your sister wants to build on one part of the property and then you want to build on the other. Now they make you partition the land so that if one day you want to sell your piece, it's already separated. But back in the day when they were just doing whatever they wanted to do and 10 people were living on the same land, like if you've ever been to the Biltmore, there's like 15 houses on there. And I doubt it's partitioned because that home was built, 150 years ago or whatever, 140 years ago. And so they may not be partitioned. And so you may have the same address at the same parcel. And so you need to like differentiate it somehow. So I like to put the parcel number. So in here, let me go to the text. So the parcel number is right here, parcel ID. I'm just going to copy and paste. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to do what I normally do, which is like every little piece of information that I can find, I put in. I'm not going to do that to you guys, but if you can put more information, by all means do it. There's also legal description, which you can find in, I don't see, does this one have one? No, I don't see one, but sometimes it has something called the legal description and you can put that in. So anybody have questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, cool. All right, so so the purchase price. So Sean has as the list price $429. So since you guys are not talking, can someone give me a price that they would want to offer on this house?
400.
Ooh. You gonna be fighting with Sean.
Right.
You gonna be fighting with Sean on that one.
Sorry.
And Sean, Sean is beast mode, but okay, we'll try. All right, 400. And then what would be the due diligence? We're gonna fake due diligence because with a builder, you would not be doing this. A builder has their own contract. Most builders, anyway.
Let's say 5,000.
5,000. Okay, cool. So I am a stickler, like I said, and I know sometimes like people are like, why? And I'm like, because all of these mean something, right? So you have like 5 ways to pay. You have cash, personal check, official bank check, wire transfer. Oh, that's 6. Okay, is that it? No, 5. Okay, 5 ways, and we do not allow y'all to do cash. There are many reasons why we don't allow you to do cash. I am from New York, where like you feel like if you walk around with cash, somebody is gonna know that you have cash and hit you upside the head to take the cash. So no cash, no, potentially like losing cash. And also maybe you counted a certain number and then when you take it to the seller, they count a different number. So we are not allowing cash. So just don't even look at cash. Don't tick cash. Just pick any of the other ones. And if your buyer is like, I have to pay in cash, then you need to tell me or Sean. You have to like come to us, because a buyer is allowed to deliver it to the seller. Of course, we don't like that. We don't want that, but there's no way I'm delivering cash even as a broker or as a broker in charge. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not delivering cash. I'm like, you want to deliver cash? Go for it. But just speak to me or Sean. So personal check. Sometimes a client doesn't want a personal check. So this is super important. And I'm not going to share like who the agent is, but if you put personal check and it's like, the check is like, I don't know, $12,000. It's going to take like 2 weeks to get the 12,000 because the bank is going to want to clear it and check it and do all those things. So if you get the offer to purchase and it says personal check and you don't want a personal check, you got to be like, hey, can y'all check a different box? I don't want a personal check. Now, if they say a personal check is all we have and you want that offer, I wouldn't reject it. But, just so you know that this does mean something here. Official bank check, that's the one that and a wire is what I would prefer because that's funded already. So, cashier's check, wire transfer, it could be, like going to the bank and sending $5,000 over. And then electronic transfer, sorry, is like Zelle, Venmo, and those types of things. But I know some people I know my Zelle, I must not have no money because the Zelle, it'll stop me at a certain point. It'll say you can't sell this. You can't send this much money. So if it was 5,000, my bank would not let me. But I do have a question about, does everybody understand all of these options? And do you understand what due diligence is? Because I don't want to assume if you're new, how it goes. Because I had an agent 7 years in the business, didn't understand how due diligence goes. So I just want to make sure that we clarify that. So if you're ever in the presence, it's better for you to tell us here that you struggle to understand due diligence than agent outside of the organization that you're trying to negotiate with.
If you can briefly explain it just to refresh my memory, that'd be great.
Okay. So due diligence, does anybody want to explain due diligence in the group?
I mean, to me, I think it's really just the money that you're giving the seller to pretty much take their house off the market.
And what does it buy you?
It buys you that time to do inspections, anything, mainly inspections to me. I guess to get done within that time.
Can a buyer get that money back if they go under contract?
No.
If you pass the due diligence period, no.
And no, you're not getting that money. You're not getting that money back. Period.
You don't ever get
You're not getting it back. Period.
Yeah, you don't ever get the due diligence back. I'm thinking about the earnest money, but you don't ever get the due diligence back.
You don't get the due diligence back until
you're at the closing table when you get credit for it.
Correct. But it's not true that you can't get the money back. You can. But under very small
Oh man,
breaches,
you might as well, yeah.
Yeah. If the seller breaches, and does anybody know what could constitute a breach?
Deciding they don't want to sell the house no more.
That's one. There's another one. There's probably a few of them, but
Be hit by a bus like you.
They what?
I say hit by a bus.
Oh, so really the next way a seller can breach is to say, every time you want to go do inspections, it's like, no, we're not home. Like you can't go in. Like they keep stopping you from doing the thing that you need to. You bought that time to do your inspection. And if they keep saying you can't come in the property, that is considered a breach. Because some sellers, it's okay if it's like, hey, whatever, we have COVID or something like that. But then they need to extend the time because I bought 2 weeks. And if you have COVID for 5 days, I'm going to need those 5 days back. So, then you get an addendum and you extend the due diligence. But a seller must, now you can't be unreasonable. You can't show up at midnight with your inspector. No. But if it's reasonable, right, where you're showing up at a normal time and you're letting them know in advance, there's zero reason why they should be saying no because you bought that time from them. So,
yeah, quick thing, Yari. Hey.
Hey, Toya.
Hey, so it also within the due diligence, I know a lot of people think that just inspections, but for North Carolina, you have to pretty much have everything done within due diligence, financing, like the appraisals and all of that as well, right? So you want to make sure that the time that you're asking the seller to take the house off the market, that you have time to do your inspections, to finalize financing and all of that as well, right?
See, that's why I like having them seasoned agents in here. Absolutely, you want to try to take care of everything you can during that time period. Now, I have worked with different agents, and I had one agent, he was in the mountains, We passed due diligence, like way past due diligence. We sent him repairs. He didn't see them. We didn't know. They didn't call us. We were like, where is this man? Like, he's just like MIA. And he came back and he was like, I'm so sorry. I got you. We'll do the repairs. Way past due diligence. So, but not everybody's like that. I had another agent that we sent the wrong form and they were like, oh, you're done. We're cut off. It's 6 o'clock. We're finished. And you're like, really? Like, you knew I was sending it. But and I remember, I'll never forget when I called my bank to tell him this, and he was like, it's your fault. And I was like, what? And he was like, because I don't want anything to be wrong. And I'm like, hey, he's like, it's your fault because if you know due diligence is up on, let's say, January 31st, you don't wait till January 31st to send the paper determination or whatever it is. You send it a few days ahead because the seller still has to sometimes sign off. With terminations and due diligence, they're unilateral, so you can get out of it. But in South Carolina, the seller has to sign. So not only do you sign, the seller signs, and it's still unilateral, but if the seller doesn't sign, the attorney doesn't release their earnest money. So different states have different rules. So get in the habit of sending that form if you're going to terminate. Send it a couple days ahead of the actual date because things happen, computers shut down, blackouts happen, things will happen, and there is nothing you can do once that due diligence period is done. And your client will be looking at you because you're the professional in the situation, and it was up to you to give them a timeline that worked for all the inspections they needed to conduct. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So, and I'm not saying that it's your fault because I've had clients that were like, I'm not doing no inspection. And I'm like, what you mean you're not doing no inspection? Like, that's not like, that's not negotiable. Like, we're doing an inspection. And they're like, nope, I'm not paying. And I'm like, well, we're not doing an inspection then. Because I don't want to get in the habit of paying for home inspections. I don't want to be known as, I'll go over there to her. She's going to pay for the home inspection. So I don't do it unless I have paid for home inspections, but only in really like circumstances where I felt it was necessary. But if you are, and some agents will tell you, like if there were other agents on this call, they would tell you never ever pay for home inspection. But I did because the client that I was telling you about with the appraisal, she was like, I don't have any more money to keep paying. So I paid for the inspection, the second one. She paid for the first one, I paid for the second. So that was a scenario in which I did pay. But I don't pay for inspections. And they should have, if you're buying a house, have your money, have your inspection money, and have your appraisal money. Like, I should not be paying for that. So that was something that I learned from my previous BIC. He was like, no, you don't wait till a day before or the day of. You get that document signed way before that. So, and clients usually know at a certain point that they don't want the house anymore, especially after inspection happens, they know. And if appraisal doesn't go well, Toya, yeah. And the only leverage, that's the only leverage you have, that we're not out of due diligence. If appraisal goes bad after due diligence, they're like, oh, well, the contract says, if you read the contract has no contingency for appraisal.
Right, but North Carolina is totally different. Like from
South Carolina has it, but North Carolina does not.
That's why you have to have everything done within that due diligence time frame. So, 100%. When you're thinking about those dates and, trying to figure out like how long you want the seller to take their house off the market, you have to make sure that, especially if your client hasn't been like upfront underwritten, like you want to make sure that you have everything done within that time frame, financing secured, appraisal, and all of that done before that end date.
Yeah. And that is your leverage. Due diligence is your leverage. Once due diligence is up, the seller is like, I don't care. You know, like the ball is back in their court after due diligence. The ball is in your court during due diligence, and then it shifts back to them after due diligence. So get all those things like Toya said, appraisal done. If you're doing a lead-based paint, you know, if you're gonna do an inspection on that, do that. If you're doing septic tank, do that. Well, making sure it's not contaminated, the water, do that. Pool inspections. And you know, like, don't, like, you're listening to us, and like Toya's like, I think 6 years in or something. We didn't know this. Like, you had to ask somebody, right? So like, ask us. If you go to a property and you're like, there's a pool, do an inspection. Don't just take for granted that the pool is fine because it could be cracked. That could be the reason they want to get rid of the house. So, you know, let somebody know, let somebody seasoned know so you can get help. You know, and sometimes like I'll go to Tijuana because I know Tijuana's 22 years. I know she's seen it all, right? Even though like we have other people that sell, but Tijuana, she's seen like the ups, the downs. So sometimes I'll go to her. So, but anyway, earnest money, you can do initial and additional. Like I had a client that they were like saving every week. So it was like this week they had money and then next week they were putting another additional money. So it happens. What do y'all want to do for earnest money?
$2,000.
2,000. Okay. All right. So back when it was like COVID and we were just trying to get the house, so due diligence was a major strategy to do that. So you might put down like 20,000, like something crazy, right? Some agents go by, I know I was taught do like 1 month mortgage or something like that. Some agents do 1%, some agents do 2%. I don't have a percent that I go by. I just try to feel out like I'll call the agent and I'll say, hey, what's important to your client, right? Is it purchase price? Is it the due diligence? Is it closing? Like how quickly they want to close? And then you'll know, because like I had a client, she didn't care nothing about due diligence at all. She only cared about the purchase price. And then there's other clients that are like, I want the due diligence, and that's all they care about. And some care about everything. So make sure you know. Go ahead, Eleni, were you saying something?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, I was muted.
Oh, that's okay. All right. So, okay, so you can do additional. I don't remember to select something here. So I'm just going to put official bank check because I think I told you that I had a client that paid by electric transfer. And then it was like the lender wanted her whole bank statement and she was so mad. She didn't want to show it to the lender. I don't know what was going on, but she didn't want the lender to see it. So every page has to be initial. So this is what I'm going to be looking for. And then the document tabulates how much it is at the end, how much is due. This right here, you're going to put your buyer's initial. If the buyer is married, or, you know, if there's a partner here, then you're going to put a second initial. So you're going to, you know, assign it. And then here, that you don't touch, that's going to be the other agent. So you're just doing this part. All right. So I'll let y'all like read all of this, but earnest money deposit. What is this? And any other earnest monies are required to be paid in condition. Okay, sorry. Escrow agent. So you're gonna want to pick your attorney. And like lately, I used to always use one in Monroe, and Sean told me that he was never going to Monroe again. So I had to start using one closer to home. So I now use Hands Law Office. You can use whoever you are comfortable with. The one thing I will tell you is there's a couple of things that make a attorney good. To me, you know, you have to decide what works for you. We had an attorney at my previous firm. She didn't work Saturdays. She didn't work Sundays. You can get in touch with her. She was like, you know, she was out the door. She was like kind of in retirement mode. So she was always off. And I couldn't stand that. And if you know my personality, you know I can't stand that. So I'm like, no, 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 no. I need an attorney that I could call on a Saturday, or I can text, or something that's an emergency I can get in touch with. Now, I don't expect you to be up 11 o'clock at night answering my phone call, but I do want you to at least, like, if I have an issue, that you're going to step in. And a lot of attorneys that are, like, they've been in the business a long time, they're not answering their phone. And like, we're not Sean, right? We're not Sir. Like, certain people can access attorneys quicker than others. Like, Sean can just call right on the phone, like he's done it for me. Whereas they might not answer me, I got to call the office. But Ham's Law, the way that they kind of like made it, into my heart is, I had a situation, down payment assistance client, condo review didn't go well. We didn't know that until the last minute. They told us we couldn't close. And when I called the office, and you better not tell nobody this, because this is not something that they have to do. They said, as long as you use us on the next transaction, well, we're good. Keep it moving. But most attorneys can charge you title, right? Because they did the title search, they did recording, they did not recording, but they did, like, FedEx and all these things or whatever. But don't tell nobody I said that. Now, of course, this thing is recorded, so but due diligence period. So you have to select one. I'll tell you how I do it. Toya can tell you how she does it. I don't know if Linda or somebody else wants to pipe in. I do. If it's like a cash, right? Because I have like an investor, and she does like 15-day closings or 21-day closings. So then my due diligence is going to be shorter. So I may do like 12 days or like 10 days. If it's a 45-day, I'm going to try to get like 25 to 26 days. If not, I'm going 22 days. I don't know where I came up with this formula, but that's how I do it. Somewhere between 22 and 26. And then if it's a 30-day period, I'm going somewhere between 16 to 19 days. They could kick it back and tell me no, but that's kind of like, that's been my rationale, because I know I need to get the inspector out there. I know I need appraisal. I need like a lot of things to happen in that time period. And that's how I do it. Toya, you got a formula?
Yeah, that's what I typically do. I try to do between like 21 days, and it just depends on when the closing date is. And I try to look at that and then do the week before. I have my due diligence period in the week before closing is supposed to occur. It's kind of how I do it. But 21 days or just a week before closing. Because again, you need to make sure that you have enough time.
Right. So Toya's doing even longer than me. Now, this is something Alicia taught me, and I was like, this is genius. Like, why not think of this? She'll go in here and go, 21 days from today.
Yep.
And the thing tells her. And I'm like, here I am counting like 21 days, and she just goes in and does that. So do that. It'll save you a lot of time and a lot of headache. Make sure that the due diligence doesn't end like on a Sunday, because, people might be in church, or they might, try to make it end. I do sometimes do Saturday, but try to do it Monday through Friday if you can. Toya, what do you feel about that?
Yep, I agree. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because people on Saturday and Sunday are not paying attention to their phones, to their email, and you might send it and they don't know that you terminated. So try to do it during the week. Okay. So let's do, I think that was the 14th that it gave me. So I'm just going to do the 14th, which is Valentine's Day. And then again, initial everything. We're only on page 2, so we're not going to get through this whole thing. But I do want to get to a couple of things just so you guys know how I do it. So then that way, you're not like confused when you send it to me. Settlement date. Let's say the settlement is going to happen on the 21st. I was always taught to pick a Tuesday, a Wednesday, or a Thursday. That's what I was taught. Do I pick Friday sometimes? Yes. But what is the problem with picking a Friday?
It has
5 o'clock. That closing of business day.
Right. So they have to record by a certain time. I think the time for the Hands Law office is 1:30 or something. She has like a rule about when she has to record. And technically, they don't have to give you the keys to the house if it's not recorded, because you technically don't own it until it goes to the courthouse. So I always pick Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday if I absolutely have to, but I don't like to do Monday. Friday, I really don't like to do Friday, but if I have to, I will. So that's just my 2 cents. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And you just pick it. Don't like call. I don't call. I have called and said, like, hey, are you available that day? Because some attorneys are not. Some attorneys have so many closings, they're not available. So one of my attorneys was like, hey, I'm on vacation, so I'm not available those days. And I just had it happen to me where I had to switch the attorney. If you have to switch the attorney, that's okay. As long as you get signatures and the other side's okay with it, that's fine. But pick a date. If you have to do a contract on Saturday and Sunday, you can't call an attorney. So just pick a date. Pick a date. Oh, how do you get the date? Toya, how do you know how many days to pick? Like 45 versus 30?
I pretty much do what Alicia does.
No. I mean, like, based on your loan product.
Oh, I call the lender and say, okay, can we are we able to close this in like 30 days or 45 days? And that's how I determine. If they say, okay, yeah, we're good with a 30-day close, I look at the calendar and see, like, whenever I'm writing an offer and kind of do like 30 days out from there. But adding a couple of days for a cushion.
So the lender is going to be your best resource for how many days. But if you don't have that information and they gave you a pre-approval, like I did a deal where the pre-approval was that day. We didn't have time to do all of that. I said conventional 30 days, FHA 45, VA 45, although VA can't close in 30. If it's like credit union, I'm going 45. DPA, I'm going like 45 to 50 because they always got going on with down payment assistance. So I kind of like ballpark it, but yes, call the lender, confirm how long do they need to close it. Like I did a deal with Fernando and he was like, I can get this closed in like 18 days. And I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to put 18 days. And he was right. He got it closed in 18 days. But I mean, it was already kind of like halfway there. But still, I was scared. So I didn't put 18 days. And then we ended up switching the date and closing earlier. But yeah, they're the best resource for sure. Especially if you're a new agent. I wouldn't we do a lot of things because we've been doing it a little bit that y'all shouldn't do. You should get in the habit of, like 3 and 9, you should do it the right way. Calling the lender and confirming how long they need. Because some lenders like VA, some of them can do it in 30 days, especially if it's underwritten already. Mm-hmm. And does everybody know what underwritten means?
I don't.
Yeah,
Right.
it means that that basically the loan is going to go through because they got everything right.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll even take the property. They go as deep as they've done the property that you went to like acquire. Down payment assistance does that a lot. They take the property and then they literally put you through the ringer, do whatever they need to do with the underwriter, and you're basically like good to go. Unless you buy a car, a plane, a boat, open tons of lines of credit, run up your credit cards. That's the only way you're probably not gonna close on that property. But if it's just like pre-approved but not gone through underwriting, they might find alimony, child support, backed up loans, like just stuff that people didn't tell the truth on,
Right.
So yeah, so underwritten means that they've done all that dirty work. So
yeah, they submitted the documents and all of that. And that's why I say I like to work with lenders that take the clients through upfront underwriting. Issue that conditional approval letter because, of course, they've already submitted all of their documentation and the loan is going to be contingent on the home appraising and them meeting other conditions. But they pretty much, the underwriter has already looked at, most of the information that they need up front versus, you're calling and you don't have any documents like that pre-qualification. So I kind of like the conditional approval letters versus the standard. So.
Yeah, 100%. If you can get that, and it's more powerful when you tell the listing agent that you have that.
Right.
Because they know that, you're good to go and you're not going to come back with, I've had to come back and like can you please give us another week? Because we, like we're looking for child support. We got all kinds of stuff going on. So, I mean, I'm not going to tell the agent that we have that, but like now I need a week because we didn't do that on the front end.
Right, yeah, they get all in your business. So like I tell clients, you need to be upfront. Just be honest upfront, and because they're gonna find out once they start dating.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then this right here, I used to mess this up when I first started, but anything on here that like some people have like ACT and it's supposed to go back or whatever it is, like you would put that in there, especially if they have it on the MLS. They're notifying you that that has to go back. Other items that do not convey. So sometimes you don't want certain things. Like they may have a deep freezer and they intend to leave it, and you're like, take your deep freezer with you. I don't want it. Because they'll leave all kinds, they'll leave jacuzzis, and then you're trying to throw them out. So other items that do not convey, take your stuff. Because I had a client that wanted to leave the jacuzzi. Luckily, the person was okay with it. But some people are like, I don't want the jacuzzi, because how are you going to throw out a jacuzzi? You have people that are germaphobes. They're not getting in somebody else's jacuzzi. So, so that items that do not convey. And then here, personal property. Does everybody know what personal property is?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So what are some examples of personal property?
Washer dryer.
Yeah, washer.
Furniture.
And usually I try to ask for all those things if I can. I had somebody come and ask me, and I was like, we didn't put that in the offer, and then we actually made them pay more for it. And I was like, that's stupid. You should have just went to the store. Like you could have went to Home Depot and got yourself like a washer dryer. You didn't have to pay us for it, but he wanted it, so we went ahead and charged him for it. Washer, dryer, refrigerator. Another one that can come up, like because you have the fixed things are fixed. So I had a client that wanted some shelves. So we put shelves in there. Some people want like lighting, like I have to have that, whatever it is. But lighting is fixed, but you have some people that they put in their listing agreement and they put on MLS that they don't want to leave a chandelier or whatever. And you may be like, nope, I need the chandelier in order to close. So I want the chandelier. So you can put whatever you want in there. And they can say no. So that's how that goes. So now you're gonna initial both.
Right, yeah, that I was gonna say that, Elliot. Like you don't want to put too much because then the lender's gonna be asking for like a bill of sale. So just keep it basic, like washer, dryer, refrigerator, and stuff like that. But if you start putting like a lot of personal items, they're gonna be asking for a bill of sale. Or ask you to put it on the bill of sale, right? I think that's
Yeah, I wouldn't ask. I mean, I'm not saying put everything, but I did have a client recently that put the shelving. She was like, she really wanted that shelving. So all right, so we're next box. So this one right here is one that like I see not done correctly a whole lot of times. So you have two ways to pay. So it's either you're doing cash, right? So I have had buyers that they're all straight cash. And then you have to do a verification of cash. You have to say if it's attached or not attached. And maybe you don't have it yet. So the most listing agents aren't going to let you get away with that. So most likely you're going to have to send them a bank statement or something to indicate that your client actually has cash. And I have heard all kinds of stuff. I had someone that was like, oh, my boyfriend's going to put the cash in my bank. No, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that because I am like, I don't want that on my reputation. Like we're not doing boyfriends putting the cash in and it's a lot of cash. We're not doing all of that. If you want to do that, do a gift or whatever. So, just like think about like what they're saying, because sometimes it's too good to be true. And in that case, it was too good to be true. And it ended up he was a scammer, but that's a whole nother scenario. All right, so right here, the majority of people are going to be financing, right? So a portion is going to be a down payment that they're coming up with, and then they're going to be utilizing a lender, and the lender is going to pay for it. I mean, the lender is going to cover the other portion. So I'm probably going to end like this page or the next one, and then we'll cover the rest later on when Alicia comes back. All right, so here is when you're using financing. first mortgage loan, you have the option of FHA, VA, and of course it's telling you to attach the FHA, VA financing addendum. So it's triggering you to do that. Conventional, USDA, other types. There are other types like, angel investors, hard money, like there's different types of loans that you might be coming with. Now, this right here, I saw somebody do it. I thought it was so genius. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that in the future because I've been tabulating it. So like, let's say you're doing conventional and you're putting in, and the loan is 400 and you're putting 10%. This, I put 360. But I had somebody who did it like this, and I was like, now that's genius. I love it. So much easier. LTV, do we know what LTV is?
Loan to value.
Loan to value.
Right. So the portion that the lender is going to pick up versus the portion you're going to pick up. So you're doing 10%, they're doing 90, loan to value is 90%. Boom, done. I was like, yes, I loved it. I was so excited about it. I don't know what Alicia said. I like contracts. I don't like contracts. I just, they just got to get done. So second mortgage loan, I guess there was I had one case, and this is probably the only time that I've ever heard of it. I had a friend that told me that when they bought their house, the jumbo loan market, you guys know what the jumbo loan market is?
No.
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 No. So jumbo loans, so there are conforming loans. You're going to have to know this. So the conforming loan limits right now for conventional are, is it 726, Toya?
Ooh,
7?
I don't know off the top of my head.
So I think it's like 726 or 762, something like that. And then and you could like Google it. And then the conforming loans for FHA are it was 472. I don't know if it's gone up. It may have gone up. So here's the thing. If you're selling a property for like 600,000, you can't accept FHA because 472 is the max that an FHA loan will do. That's a conforming limit. So if you're the listing agent and you're like, we're not doing FHA because you're not going to have enough of the down payment to make up for it. So it's right here. So what's the conforming? Sorry.
I think it's conventional 750.
Is what?
I think it's 750 for what is it? I think it's 750.
Oh, here it is. 766 550. Is that what it's saying? Let me see. Yeah, 766 5 North Carolina 2 units. So if it's a 1 unit property, 766 550 is conventional, and then you would have your FHA limits. So yeah, so pay attention to that because like then you'll accept the loan and it won't work. Like then you're gonna have to fix it anyway, and your client's gonna be looking. I don't even know where the conforming. It's like 4 something. Oh, there it is at 472,030. So this is a good way for your clients to be like, you're such a genius. Don't accept FHA if your property is like very, very expensive and they're not coming in with like a huge down payment. Jumbo loan is beyond conventional. So the 766 550 that you saw, this home is like $1 million, $1.5 million, something like that. At that point, they have to get a jumbo loan. So it's a special market for those types of loans. It's very stringent, like the credit score they have to have, the down payment they have to have. Like there's lots of rules to it. The DTI they have to have. DTI, everybody knows what that is. That's an income. So FHA is going to be the easiest going for the most part of like, I think, and maybe VA may be in there too, but FHA is going to be like very close to 50%, somewhere between 45 to 50% of debt to income, whereas conventional is going to be tighter. And then jumbo is going to be even tighter than that. So at that point, if you need a jumbo loan, it might end up being a jumbo loan. Okay, so here's where the second mortgage comes in. I said all that to say this. the jumbo market was closed and the house was more than the conventional conforming limits. So what they did was when the property appraised, and I don't think any lender would ever do this, so don't think that this is common, but I just thought it was funny. So they basically took the loan, the conventional, and when the property appraised, it appraised so much higher than the amount that they were paying for it, than the purchase price, that the lender ended up borrowing money against the house. So he basically created like a HELOC or something against the house and covered the other portion. So there were two loans. And then when the jumbo market opened, they refinanced and got out of that because the payment was so high on one and low on the other. Like not low, but lower on the other and high on another one. Does that make sense? I know that one's weird, but I thought it was like, what? I can't even believe a lender did that. They basically borrowed from the house that wasn't even purchased yet. Have you ever heard of something like that, Toya?
So he took the equity out of the house that wasn't bought yet?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Jari, I was trying to multitask. I missed it.
Yeah, so the lender basically went to the max with the conventional. The house was more than conventional conforming limits. So because the property appraised so high, he borrowed from the property to complete the other part. So they had two separate loans.
Oh,
so
okay.
Have you heard of that?
I have not.
I thought it was like, what? I mean, that's some creative financing. Now, you want to talk about creative financing? That's it.
Yeah, that's definitely creative.
That's creative. And all those houses over there are worth like $975 now. At the time she was buying it for $685. So anyway, so that might be like a second. That might be how you end up with a second. I don't know how else you would end up with it. So then other funds here, sometimes this is where I put House Charlotte, like if House Charlotte's coming in, and I might do that. Sometimes you're getting from a 401k.
You work with House Charlotte already?
I did. I am right now. Yes, and it's a big headache. It's a huge headache. But Alinda, if you go on Canopy, they're doing right now classes. Actually, there's one tomorrow on DPA. So there's one tomorrow and two next week.
Okay, thanks.
So you should jump on there and register for it. All right, so other property, buyer does or does not have to sell or lease other real property in order to qualify for a new loan or complete the purchase. So this, if it's a contingent, right? And the contract does not allow for contingent. Let's just make that clear. You cannot make a contingent offer with this. You can put that there's a property that needs to be sold, but it doesn't protect them. So you're going to have an addendum drafted. I've had people do that towards me. So they draft an addendum with an attorney saying that if our house doesn't sell, we won't buy yours. This contract doesn't protect you. So do not ever take this contract as a contingent contract. It is not. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So then what is this one for then, this portion, if it doesn't?
So where you're notifying them, like, yes, there is a property that we're selling, but you may not be worried about it. It says does not have to sell, lease, or whatever. Like there are people that they have another house, but they don't have to sell it. They can still qualify.
Mm.
So, but if this is a contingent offer, make sure you get an addendum from an attorney written that says we cannot move forward on this house unless we sell that one.
Right, and that's why they put that little note under there as well to let you know that this contract is not conditioned upon them selling or closing on their other property. That little blue box.
Yeah, right here.
No, up under.
Oh, down here.
That one there.
Oh,
yeah, I think that's the verbiage.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Now, most people, right? They're like nice people, so they're gonna be like, hey, your house didn't sell. Okay, we'll let you out of the contract, but does the seller have to? No. But does it make sense for a seller to argue this if you don't have the money? Like, you just don't have the money. If you don't sell your house, you don't have money to buy their house, but some people will hold you to the fire, and this offer to purchase allows you to do that. Now, there are people that don't need to sell that house. They can carry more than one mortgage, but so here, if you put does and you write the address of the property that needs to be sold. So when we bought our, go ahead.
Yeah. So before I submit this form, my buyer needs to go to the attorney and get this done, right?
Get an addendum, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I had somebody do it to me, and sometimes you learn because another agent did it to you, not because you had to do it. So an agent brought us something, and it said, if we cannot sell our home, then we're like released from this contract, right? But what they were also saying was, and everything becomes void. And when I like looked at that contract and we read it, and me and the seller like really delved into it, what they were saying was due diligence, earnest, everything goes away. It's like it never happened. And we were like, absolutely not. The only way we'll accept this contract is if you release the due diligence. So if you have to walk away for whatever reason because of your, like, we're not going to hold you to the contract, but we want the due diligence because you made us waste time and you made us waste money.
That's right. What about the earnest money?
So the earnest, we didn't fight for the earnest. We weren't fighting for the earnest. We were only fighting for due diligence because the earnest is gonna, come back. Yeah. So we didn't fight for that, but we were like, if you want this house, then you have to release the due diligence. And it was like 15 grand or something. And they were like, no, we don't want to do that. So we ended up not doing we didn't do the contract with them. Because my seller, she was hardcore. She was like, I'm not doing that. Because now I got to pay the mortgage while they're trying to sell their house. I got to keep doing extensions for them, and I'm still paying the mortgage. And then they get to, if they and you know what happened? Later on, the agent had to call me because originally they were going to release it, but they didn't have an attorney to write it because it was on the weekend. So she was like, we're going to release it. We're okay with that. And then when she called me that the next day, and she was like, the other buyer backed out. So we would have been messed up because we would have went under contract and then we would have had to go back on market. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because we would have put it under contract, and then next thing you know, when that buyer went to them and told them that, we would have to go right back to market. It would have looked like a tarnished property. So yeah, so when you get stuff, really read it, go to your attorney, get some support. Sir's an attorney. I know he don't want me saying, but he's an attorney. So, like if you don't know how to read something, like ask questions. So Sir would be a good person to be like, what does this say? Because I didn't know that they were voiding the contract by saying everything becomes like it just never existed. Like the contract never existed. All right. So, buyer's property. So this is if they do need to sell, and it says buyer's other property is not under contract, buyer's property is under contract. I actually had a person that had to do that, but her property was under contract, so the seller was okay with her making the offer. All right, so here, this is really, really important, and we're going to end here. Residential Property and Owners Association disclosure. So I told you when I went over here and I looked at those attachments, both of them are here. So I have the mineral oil and gas rights. And just so you know how this should look, whenever I see something like this, I'm like, what does that mean? Because what do you notice on here? And
Nobody
that's only, huh?
Nobody initial it.
Nobody what?
Initial. I don't see no initial.
With this form, with the way the boxes are ticked?
There's no initials to the left.
That's for the buyer. So the seller doesn't put anything there. I know Toya knows what it is.
Oh, you want me to tell you what it is?
Yeah, unless somebody else knows.
Hold on, let's read it.
Is it because they selected?
If I saw that, but see, I look at stuff like that. I'm gonna be like, excuse me, I'm on the phone. Now this is a builder, so that might be why this, I don't know.
No, this is a resale, right?
It is a resale, but it was from DR Horton, so I guess I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to ask Sean because this is his listing. But if I see that, I'm calling. Excuse me, why did you put yes? Is this true? Like, are you severing the mineral or because then it's like fracking. Somebody could technically be going under your property looking for stuff.
Yeah, Yadi,
Huh?
can we go over something really fast? So the builders, they have to provide this MOG here, not the ARPODs. And then if it's land, then you don't have to do neither, or you have to do MOG.
So I, believe it or not, I've never sold land. So I don't know, but I think it's the MOG is part of land. Toya, have you sold land?
I have in South Carolina, and they don't have to.
And South Carolina don't have the MOG.
Right.
Yeah, that's a Sean or and Zen does a lot of South Carolina, but Sean does a lot of land. I think Deless has done land.
Yeah, you can look at his land listing, right, to see if he had any disclosures, but I don't think it's required. Because Sean has land listed in North Carolina now, right?
Yeah, but I gotta release y'all soon because we've been on this thing for a minute. But I'm definitely gonna ask Sean that question because I thought you do have to have the MOG, but not the ARPOs. But I'll tell my client, you can't tell your client how to fill this out, but if something happened before you, how would you know what they did? So I always tell my clients, unless this is like an inherited property, I would personally, you can choose no representation if you are not aware if it was severed or if it wasn't severed. So you can choose no representation. That's why they give you that option there. And then number 4, oil and gas rights were severed from the property by the previous owner. That's another area where you can say, well, I don't know if they severed the rights. So I can choose no representation. Now, I have had sellers that choose all no. And you know what I mean? If that's what you want to put on there, but this document right here is an important document, just like the ARPOs is an important document. Go ahead, Alinda.
So let's say this is a resale. Let's say the person before them severed the rights, right, for the minerals, oil and gas. And then I go to sell it again. Do I have to say as the seller that I'm severing the rights again, or am I like how would that even be put on a contract?
I would think that it switches to seller has severed the oil and you know what I mean? Like I would think that it goes to like a past tense because this one says intends to.
Okay, gotcha.
But this is more of a like I said, I haven't done land. I don't know about this, but I know that if I see that, yes, because I went up against my productivity coach one time. He was on the other side of a transaction and he had yes on all of this. And I called him right away and he was like, I didn't even know that the seller did that. Like he didn't even pay attention to it. Like this is a document that's important because what if I'm like, no, I don't want fracking. I don't. So I'm not buying this house. That's why they tell you, did you see this document? It asks you right here, buyer has received a signed copy of the NC mineral and oil and gas rights mandatory disclosure statement prior to making this offer and acknowledges compliance with NCGS 47E-5 Residential Property Disclosure Act. So because you have both. But then it's buyer has not, and you have to tick the right box because if you put not, that gives you 3 days. It's like 3 calendar days. There's like rules about it. But there's here the end of 3rd calendar day. And if they don't give you that form, you could technically back out of the offer. Back out of the contract because they haven't provided you with enough information for you to make an informed decision.
So they have to serve you within 3 days or 7 days under once you write the contract.
So it says the end of the 3rd calendar day following receipt of the.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like you can. I mean, I would have to like. I've always said 3rd day, but it does have a lot. I might have to be like, sir, come on, let's look at this. But I've always looked at it as 3rd day. So if you don't receive this document, then you can't. Your client can back out. And then Sean also has right here the RPOs. And this one I check because I check it when I have to approve stuff. I check it for y'all, but a lot of times the seller doesn't pick everything. And I'm always like, why didn't you pick this? Like you should be ticking every box unless you're putting something on this side. So in the year the dwelling was constructed, 2022, so you don't choose this because you've already put something here. And then this one, the dwelling's exterior is made of what? They didn't choose anything. So I would have been like, you need to either choose or you need to choose here. You need to choose no representation or this one. I would kick it back, but that's just me, you know? So then is there any because the problem with this document is that it's filled out by the seller and we're not supposed to help them fill it out. So a lot of times we ignore this document and we act like, okay, well, here we go, just give it to me and that's it. And I'll throw it up on MLS. But technically you should be looking at it to see, did they actually pick the stuff? Is there stuff blank? Because if you got me on the other side, I'm gonna be like, you didn't answer this. I need you to go back and answer that. And I had somebody do that to me where they were like, we're not signing this until your seller picks something. They got to pick no representation, no, or yes, something. So here, in what year was the dwelling's roof installed? So stuff like that. But see, I look at that. And that's stuff that you guys are going to have to get used to looking at because you're protecting your client. Your job is to protect your client. And if there's no box there, you don't know. It could be synthetic stucco, and synthetic stucco is a problem.
I was gonna say the same thing because this is serious, document. You got to be careful and cover yourself too.
Oh yeah, and then I remember we were looking at a house one time, and when the home inspector came, he said the exterior is asbestos. So I don't know if you guys know anything about asbestos siding that they used to do, whatever in the 1950s or whatever it was that they were doing. Well, this property was from 1900, but asbestos siding has to be taken care of just like you would do mold remediation and asbestos. You have to like tent it, and it's an expensive thing to remove. It's not like you just take it off. Like it has to be done by a professional because you could this is like chemical, you know what I mean? Like it could make you sick. So you need the asbestos to be treated by a professional. So if this was asbestos and nobody ticked it, and then later on they're like, oh, you didn't tell me this was asbestos. And I'm like, wait a minute, we go back to this and there was no tick here. You didn't tick the box. Nobody ticked it. Now the inspector will probably catch it on the back end. Like most inspectors that are worth their weight will catch it. But what if they don't catch it? So this right here doesn't have to be filled out because they've done all of this work right here. And this one is electricity and natural gas. I don't know why it's both. But maybe it is because sometimes you have the furnace is one. No, but I don't think so. I think it should be, but maybe it is because it says check all that apply. Oh yeah, gas does run with electricity too. So that's right what it is. All right, so city, county, check this. I just had an inspection where my inspector said that he could swear that it was on septic. And I had to call the county and verify, even though the agent had told me that it was on city water. But when he checked it, he was like, this looks like it's on septic. And it had been on septic at some point. but it was now city and city water and city sewer. So definitely, Sean told me that his old company used to make him check this. He'd actually have to call the water company and find out. So, and then the water pipes, plastic, butylene, polybutylene, that's problematic. You can read up on polybutylene. And then, yeah. So anyway, you guys know what a property disclosure looks like, or most of you know. So the owner's initials are here. If you are not on HOA, you can stop. So if the answer is no or no representation, you can stop right here. You don't have to keep filling it out. Like, a lot of people keep filling this out, but you don't have to. It says here, it says, if you answered yes to question 33 above, you must complete the remainder of this disclosure statement. If you answered no or no representation of question 33 above, you do not need to answer the remaining questions on this disclosure. So this is something that, like, I see all the time, and they didn't have to, but they did. I would tell my clients to do as least as possible. I mean, if I'm the seller, I'm not trying to have them do extra stuff, because, all that stuff is legally binding documents. If you lie, you cannot lie on that document. You can put no representation, but you cannot lie. And if they find out you lie, that could be a court case. So make sure your clients don't lie. If they have water leaks or whatever it is, and if you know they have water leaks, well, that's a material fact that you have to disclose. So that's a whole nother conversation about disclosing material facts that I won't go into today, because that's something else that we can't even get into, because I need to wrap y'all up. But yeah, so you have to make sure you decide. If you don't have it, like in the one where Sir was missing it, then I would put buyer has not received it. If I'm making the offer, buyer has not received it, because I don't have it. But a lot of times I'll call the agent and say, hey, I don't have it. Can you send it over, or can you upload it? And if you do not have it, now Sir is a seasoned agent, but if you didn't put that up, I automatically think you're brand new. Like, for me, I'm like, oh, this person's brand new. Like, because I'm looking for those signs of you being brand new, because, it's like, I'm going in, right? Like, I'm trying to win what I can for my client. So if you don't put up your attachments, I think you're new. Now, you may not be, like in the case where Sir is not a new agent. But he didn't have his. And I don't know how long that listing's been there. And, I'll just tell them that he's missing the documents. But that is a surefire way to check if an agent is not a name, or, you know what I mean? So anyway, so we got to page 7. So I'm going to continue with Alicia next week, because we really need to get everyone kind of filling these out correctly, so that you don't get kickbacks, because I keep kicking it back if they're not filled out. And a lot of times we're way past this process by the time I get it to approve it for a commission. Like, it's already been like 3 weeks. So now you got to go back to your client. Hey, I didn't fill out this box. Can you initial here? You don't want to be doing that. I mean, you can just do it on the front end, And all this stuff matters, because for the very reasons that I'm trying to explain to y'all, that maybe you don't think it's a big deal, but it could at some point come back. Hey, it could at some point be used, because it's a legal document. So, but anyway, I'm going to stop the share on that. And if you guys have any questions, if not, I know everybody's tired and had a long day. So I don't want to hold y'all up anymore, but I definitely want to answer questions. And anybody that needs to leave, feel free, because we've stopped the share. If you got to go do your thing with your family, please feel free to. If you have questions, I'll stick around for like a couple minutes to answer questions.
Hello, I have a personal question. So I live in Fayetteville right now, and I'm moving to Charlotte in the summertime. I was trying to decide, should I, I'm not for sure how many people, I guess, do real estate in South Carolina, because I was trying to decide, should I get my South Carolina real estate license as well?
South Carolina license as well. Hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. Okay.
But Shelley, I'm just going to answer just for me. Yadi may have a different story, but
Okay.
but yes, I would say yes. Since we're so close in state.
All right, sorry.
South
Was
Carolina.
Toya answering the question?
Yeah, but I'm telling her yes to go get them South Carolina license.
Okay. Okay. That's what I was thinking about doing. I wanted to have it done before I even moved to Charlotte, so I already be in the loop with some stuff.
Yeah, but I think the process has changed as far as like how, because I think you have to take the class now, right, Yadi? In order to
Yeah, I was about to ask her. I think somebody said 90 hours. You had to do 90 hours for the South Carolina.
I thought it was 60. Is it 90? Wow. Yeah, I'm glad I got mine already because we could just take the test. We could just sit for the test.
right, yeah. So I only have to for the test as well, but I think you do the salesperson. What do they call it? Because I'm a full broker in both states. So what is it like a salesperson? I think in South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm actually a salesperson. So if you're less than 3 years, you are a salesperson. If you're 3 years or more, you can apply for the broker license. Now, just so you know, like just because, I mean, I don't know how it is on the South Carolina side. I know on this side, you could be the BIC of your team. You know what I mean? Like if you're working a team and you guys are going to be advertising under your name, under the team name and stuff, and you have to be a BIC. Somebody has to be the QB, the qualifying broker, and somebody has to be the broker in charge of your team. Especially if you want to cut checks to the team name. So all of that stuff matters. Now on the South Carolina side, I don't know. On the North Carolina side, you have to be 2 years. On the South Carolina side, 3 years. So technically, I'm not the BIC in South Carolina. Technically, Sean is the BIC in South Carolina because I don't have 3 years. So I just do compliance. So if you're on the South Carolina side, you're going to come to me only for compliance needs. And then, sir, no, not even sir, it's Sean is the BIC. No.
Yeah, but Shelley, yeah, definitely get your South Carolina license. Yeah. I would suggest it.
100%. Now you're gonna have to pay a little bit more because you're gonna have to pay the board over there, and you're gonna have to renew your license every year. But it's worth it if you do a couple of transactions a year.
Oops, sorry. Anybody know what's the best a good real estate school for South Carolina? Because I was trying to Google, but
a lot of people they go to. Well, go ahead, Jan.
No, I was saying bye to Shamika.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of people they go to that Comps Academy with Bonnie Judge.
Okay, Comps Academy.
I know a lot of people they go there.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, thank you.
Any questions about the contract that we just went through? Was there anything that surprised, or you were just like, you kind of like that's I mean, because some of you have written a contract, some of you haven't written contracts yet. I know Toya, you've written a bunch of them, so. And Vicky, you've written contracts, right?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Oh, okay.
No contracts for me yet.
Okay. Jada, and you're brand new, right?
Brand new. I became a realtor yesterday, y'all.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
All right, yeah. You're like, I was today years old when I became a realtor.
Right. I finally have MLS access.
Yeah, so writing the offer, like, after a while, it's just like, you just get it done. I mean, I'm just glad we don't have to write words, like, I'm just glad we just fill boxes and, like just fill in the blanks. I could do that. If I had to write, I'm like, it would not be, because I'd be sitting there all day thinking, is this right? And I got to go check. But yeah, so yeah, thank you for joining us. I mean, it's so late. I'm so sorry. It's just that like we never can power through that document. It's so long.
I do have one more question. I do apologize.
No, you don't have to apologize.
So at the escrow attorney area, if you're just doing due diligence, do you still put your attorney in that area even though you're not giving earnest money?
Yes, because you need an attorney to close it, to pull title and do that.
Okay, I just want to make sure because that's what I was doing. I was like, well, I'm only giving DD, but I still put my attorney's name in there just in case. Okay, thank you.
Somebody has to close it, so definitely put someone in there.
Okay, thank you.
Toya, did you want to give your last words of wisdom?
Oh no, I had a question for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's related to dot loop because I know you were saying like because normally I try to submit my my loop in part. So like whenever I have my buyer agency documents ready, I hit submit. But so who's getting alerted? Because I still have some that's been submitted but not approved yet. So
did you submit them today or a couple days ago?
Oh, it's been a while ago, girl.
Oh, send me the address. Just text me the address. Okay. Because what happened is Ange has ability to check it. Alicia has ability to check it, and I have ability to check it. But technically, I'm supposed to be approving them unless there's some kind of emergency. But I definitely didn't see it. And sometimes, like, I'm prioritizing the commission ones. Like, I'm like, commission gotta go, you know?
Right. Okay. So yeah, I'll see the
and there's so many notifications, like I have to keep going down. And I get everything. Like somebody just started a loop. Somebody did this. Somebody did their buyer agency. They did W. So I'm like, I just see so much stuff that I think I must have missed yours.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is before you were big. So.
Oh, okay. But you know, and she lets me know. She's like, this hasn't been approved. And I'm like, and when I go in there, sometimes it's like buyer agency. And I'm like, really, Ange? I thought it was commission. You know, like I'm all stressed out. They get like somebody that get paid and it's just Ange being Ange. Because she's amazing. She's so like on it. And then like, you know, because she be checking me. I'm like, maybe she does check me.
Oh,
she checks all of us, so she checks all of us.
Okay. Well, I will send you the address and
yes, please.
Oh, you don't send it back to me, girl.
Yes, that's good. And send them in the folders because then you know your commission, especially because there's a 2 o'clock cutoff time that Guzman uses. So if it goes in after 2, that adds an extra day to like your payout. So you want to make sure that as much as I can pre-approve, then all that's coming at the end is the ALTA, the check deposit or the wire transfer, and then the commission request form. You don't want me approving like 20 documents because I may have meetings and then don't get to all 20. All right. Anyone else? Oh, let me see it in the chat. I didn't see anything. Outbuildings detached. Oh, Sean was look at Sean putting stuff in here. I didn't know. No RPOs. Oh, no RPOs on land. Yes, MOG on land.
Okay. Oh, Sean
outbuildings detached. What'd you say?
Okay, I didn't know Sean was on here.
Yeah, he's over here in the chat telling us stuff. You can't see it, but I can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's what I thought, because MOG is a land type of document. So I figured with land, you're going to have the MOG, but not the RPOs because there's no building that's being lived in.
Yeah, I've never listed land in North Carolina, just South Carolina. So I know we didn't have to do it for South Carolina. There's no form for South Carolina.
All right. Well, that's it. We'll be back. We'll reconvene next week. Hopefully Alicia will be here and the whole tech thing will go better. But thank you guys. I really appreciate it. You know, this is just going to help all of us become better agents.
Absolutely.
No, thank you, Aya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Toya, for chiming in.
Thank you.